The Gran Cedillo School of Business and Management at Pepperdine University proudly presents the Dean's Executive Leadership Series. This podcast invites top business practitioners and thought leaders to share their view on the real world of business.
First of all, I'd like to just thank all of you for being here this evening. We have a great turnout, and I'm sure you're going to find that it's going to be a great event. Now, just beginning my little brief presentation, I'd like to first say I'm very honored and humbled to be here, to be given this brief moment to introduce myself as well as the Pepperdine Black Alumni Council to you. My name is Charles Franklin, and I'm a graduate of the fully employed MBA program and currently work for American Honda Motor Company. Now, about the council was, to my understanding, was founded in 2009 under the vision of Dean Livingstone and Mr. Ron Berryman. Since that time, the council has had great success in establishing itself, and its mission is fundamentally to support the school's objectives while ensuring that African American students have an opportunity to be supported financially, as well as in mentoring and job sharing and things of that nature. So we're very excited about that. Moving forward, trying to continue with that start, we have a five-step plan, not like the one you heard about the other day, but we have a plan to enhance the Black Alumni Council. And the most important part of that is we plan to establish an endowment by the end of 2 years. And so I want you all to know that you are part of us establishing that endowment, and we look forward to your support. So when we reach out to you, just do what we ask. Okay? And as you may expect, that could be in the form of fundraising, but it could also be in the form of mentoring students, providing job opportunities, or just being available to help enhance the students. So with that, I know you're going to say yes, and I'm going to get out of the way, and I'm going to introduce the person that is partially responsible for my being here, and that's Dean Livingstone. And I have a whole page of her bio, which I was not allowed to read because she said I would be excommunicated. So anyway, without further ado, Dean Livingstone, thank you.
I did threaten him slightly with that long bio. He said something about, yeah, I'm going to tell me you were the prom queen. I'm going, I don't think I want you to say anything like that because, one, it's not true, and two, they really don't care to hear about me tonight. It is wonderful to have you here, Charles. Thank you so much for kicking us off tonight and for the work you and so many others. I want anybody who's on the Black Alumni Council, stand up. Our Black Alumni Council members. Fabulous. And Charles mentioned Ron. Ron, stay standing up. Ron was actually one of the brains behind this and getting us kicked off and led the group for several years until Charles took over. So we're thrilled that you're here and for your leadership in this group and as a member of our Board of Visitors. So we're thrilled to work with the council and glad to have your support tonight for this event, and we're so looking forward to the evening. What I want to do just for a couple of minutes as we lead into our first Dean's Executive Leadership Series of the year is give you a little bit of an update on some things going on in the school. And, as we think about who we are in the business school, it is really our vision in the business school to be a global leader and really globally renowned for the way we develop leaders, the way we advance knowledge that really makes a difference for business and society. So it's not just about what we do in the classroom, but how are our alumni, how is the work our faculty are doing really making a difference in businesses around the world and more broadly even in society. And the Dean's Executive Leadership Series is a part of that. It's a very important part of that. This is actually the 10th year that we have been doing this series, so we're celebrating our 10th anniversary and have just a fabulous lineup ahead of you. But a couple of other things that are kind of going on that I think really support what we're trying to accomplish as a business school. In this very room, all day today, we sort of barely got it cleared out in time to have our event tonight, was a conference on digital innovation. Our Center for Applied Research sponsored that, along with our information systems faculty, had a room full of really high-level folks, and I think we may still have some of them in the room with us tonight, that were talking about what's going on in digital innovation in all different types of industries. I was not able to attend, but I heard it was just fabulous, great insights shared. It's really part of what we're doing here as we really try to connect business with what we're doing in education. on November 2nd, so just right around the corner. We will also be hosting here our SEER Symposium. SEER is our acronym for Social, Environmental, and Ethically Responsible Business Strategy. It is a program we've developed here in Malibu with our full-time curriculum where you can get a certificate in that, where you really think about how to be a responsible business leader in a variety of ways. So we do a symposium every year. We would love to have you back to be a part of that. And that's been an extremely popular program, but also an extremely popular certificate for us in our full-time program. It is led by Dr. Michael Crook, who is one of our faculty members, full-time faculty member. He's a former CEO of Patagonia. So he brings tremendous experience to that, both from the practice as well as from the academic side of things. And then really from an academic perspective, we've got faculty doing some really interesting research. In our Grazie Dio Business Review, we just published an article that was looking at when's the best time in presidential cycles to invest in the Dow Jones average. And really, presidential election cycles are typically a very good time to invest. You should know this since the election's coming up. But two of our faculty members, Nelson Granados and Marsh Nichols, published this. It's gotten tons of press, as you can imagine. It's very good timing, but really making an impact and really making a difference in how people think about the decisions they make and what they're doing. And then we also, in early October, released our quarterly index on demand for capital by private businesses. That's part of our private capital markets project. It wasn't great news because the demand for capital had declined, which isn't necessarily a good sign for the economy. But that's a great program. If you're in the small business world on any aspect of that, you should really be familiar with our private capital markets project. So lots of things going on in the school that give you opportunities to learn, to continue to advance your knowledge and what you're doing. And we hope we're continuing to develop opportunities for our students to be more successful leaders as they complete their work here and go out into businesses and into organizations, both here and abroad. But this series is a big part of that, and we are so thrilled tonight to welcome you to this series and to have you meet Bernard Kinsey. And so to introduce Bernard, I'm going to actually ask Faye McClure to come up. Faye is the Vice President for Strategic Marketing at Farmers Insurance Group. Farmers has been a fabulous partner through the years with us on the Dean's Executive Leadership Series. She is an alumnus of Seaver College. She's a member of our Board of Visitors. She is deeply involved in the Los Angeles community in many, many different areas. So we're just so proud to have her affiliated with the business school, to have her a part of Pepperdine. She actually just recently joined the Board of Regents at Pepperdine. I've got to remember to add that to your bio because she just did that this summer. So we're thrilled. So Faye is a dear friend, a wonderful friend to me personally, but to the university and to the business school. So it's a pleasure, Faye, to have you here to introduce Bernard.
Good evening. Good evening. We can do better. You look better. I know you can do that better. Good evening. Good evening. That's what I'm talking about. Well, by definition, a trailblazer is one who blazes a trail and a pioneer in any field. It can also be said a trailblazer is fearless, a leader, bold, confident, and not afraid to challenge the status quo. A trailblazer, ladies and gentlemen, is our guest speaker for this evening, Bernard W. Kinsey. Described as an aggressive achiever by the New York Times, Mr. Kinsey has traversed the corporate, private, and philanthropic, educational, and entrepreneurial landscape in a way that appears seamless. He says that he lives his life based on two simple principles: to whom much is given, much is required, and living a life of no regrets. And that is evidence in his endeavors, accomplishments, and lifestyles. Bernard Kinsey is the president and founder of KBK Enterprises Incorporated, a management consulting firm with extensive experience and success providing advice and counsel to senior-level executives. He has consulted on economic development with the governments of South Africa, Germany, the UK, and France, and was appointed Honorary Consul General by the United States Department and the Central African Republic. In his role at Rebuild LA, Mr. Kinsey led LA's rebuilding efforts after the 1992 civil unrest and was responsible for generating more than $380 million in investments from the private sector for inner-city Los Angeles. Mr. Kinsey also enjoyed a 20-year association with the Xerox Corporation and was one of the pioneers in breaking down racial barriers in corporate America. Holding a multitude of C-level positions, Mr. Kinsey holds the distinction of achieving #1 status in both sales and marketing positions he held from 1968 through 1984. His leadership of the Xerox Black Employees Association led to the hiring of thousands of Black employees, women, Latinos, and is a subject of a Harvard Business School case study. For the past 5 years, Bernard Kinsey and his beautiful wife Shirley and son Khalil have focused their attention on the Kinsey Collection, their national touring museum exhibit of African American art and history dating back to 1600. The collection has been viewed by more than 3 million visitors and was most recently exhibited at the Smithsonian National Museum of American History in Washington, D.C. The Kinsey Collection book was adopted by the Florida's Department of Education for African American curriculum to be taught to students in grades K through 12. And just last week, it was announced the Kinsey Collection will be on display at the Epcot Center in Disney World for the next 5 years. Go, Bernard. Mr. Kinsey received his bachelor's degree from Florida A&M University and is an MBA from Pepperdine in 1973. Yeah. He has received honorary doctorates from both FAMU and Alabama A&M University. An ardent supporter of his undergraduate alma mater, Mr. Kinsey has raised millions of dollars in support of scholarships and the Alumni Association for FAMU, as well as grants for African American mid-career artists. Bernard and Shirley Kinsey are extensive travelers and consider themselves students of world history and culture. I ask that you turn your attention to the video for more about Mr. Kinsey. Thank you.
Long before African Americans were able to play their rightful role in our country's politics, they were making important contributions to our country's art. Bill Whitaker introduces us to a couple who make sure those contributions are not overlooked.
This is just blows you away.
Bernard Kinsey has a passion for art
This is the artist that did this piece.
and a passion for history.
1632. Can you believe this?
Get him started,
And I'm gonna wrap it up.
just can't stop himself.
All right, I'm gonna wrap it up. I got Shirley and Khalil telling me to stop. Okay.
Not when he's addressing a room full of admirers with his wife Shirley and son Khalil by his
I
side.
know. But I gotta get this out. I gotta get this out.
Not when he's showing
This piece right here, 1888, the Buffalo Soldiers. Now,
no
yeah.
sharing his extensive collection of historical African American artifacts
Well, this is the first recruiting post to come and join us, brothers.
and documents.
Here is the account of the African slave trade.
And artwork.
William Tolliver, Charles White. This is the first place I come to when I come home. I come and kind of this room speaks to me.
Just to surround yourself.
That's right. I'm saying all these wonderful black people that have done all these wonderful things, and many of these stories have not been told.
It's just one part of a Los Angeles home filled with marvelous things. On every wall, in every nook, from the moment you walk in the door.
This is a portrait of Bernard Miles, as you can see, and it's done by artist Lane.
In Shirley, his wife of 40 years, Bernard found not only someone to share his life, but his passion for collecting.
Sure, and everything. I buy the dead artist, she buys the living artist, you know, because I'm looking at the historical part of this thing, and she's looking at what she likes.
Their collection isn't only African American, but mostly paintings, sculpture, and documents from the distant past and the not so distant.
I love this letter. A letter from Malcolm X to Alex Hayes, 1963.
Over the years, they realized they were collecting a story.
When we came to the Americas from Africa, how did we evolve? And that evolution is both painful and wonderful. And putting that together is what we try to do here.
That's the story you're telling in this house.
Exactly.
Kind of angle it this way.
Yeah.
Their light-filled house sits on a bluff above the Pacific. A visitor's eye dances between the beauty outside and in.
So you've got the artwork on the walls, and out the windows, you've got the Pacific Ocean. Right.
It's been quite a journey for a couple who met as college kids at predominantly black Florida A&M in 1963, when students were fighting for civil rights.
I met her after she got out of jail.
They've grown so close.
Demonstrated. So, sit-ins and that.
They finish each other's sentences. So you knew she was something special from the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Both now are retired from Xerox, where Bernard rose to become vice president. He's now a much-in-demand business consultant.
Fast forward to the present. The couple holding a news conference in Washington, D.C. as their collection, the shared treasures of Bernard and Shirley Kinsey, now greets visitors to the busiest museum in all the world, the Smithsonian.
I have opened numerous exhibitions throughout my career, but few have excited, few have challenged, few have moved me as much as the Kinsey collection. It is rare that history museums get to acknowledge the important role that collectors play in preserving and protecting our cultural patrimony.
The shared treasures of Bernard and Shirley Kinsey is on display at the main gallery of the Smithsonian's National Museum of American History. The exhibition will stay there until May of 2011. More than 2.5 million people are expected to view it during that time.
The Kinseys have reached a stage in their lives where they can afford to indulge their passions, one even greater than collecting, sharing. Together, they have raised more than $22 million for scholarships at historically black colleges.
We end tonight with a story of devotion, one couple's devotion to finding and protecting beauty once scattered by history and now gathered in a single collection, a cultural inheritance for African Americans. And tonight, Bill Whitaker reports a gift for all Americans to see.
Well, first of all, Dean, it's just a pleasure to be back on your campus. I had the opportunity during commencement a little over a year ago. It was quite an honor. And the same young lady that introduced me that afternoon, Faye McClure. And let me just say, Faye McClure is a powerhouse in this city. And what she is doing and what she has done, and she has just been so helpful to the Kinsey family, and I just always want to share that so people will know who you are. She's on crutches and came out. I mean, what else you want? You know, you got somebody coming out on crutches. You know, Mike Sims, Phil Thompson. Thank you so much for the interface here. None of these events happen unless you have people working for the university and making sure everything works. And Kay Rosen, this young lady in the polka dots there looking so nice tonight. Kay has been really the glue with the Kinsey family and Pepperdine and really introduced us to Pepperdine again, even though both Shirley and I graduated with a master's degree. I got a master's, MBA here in 1973. So that's older than some people that are here. And we do understand that. But I'm going to live a long time, and that's my plan. And when you set about that, age really is just a number. So I'm working on so many things that I want to do with my life, and I hope that over the next few minutes I can share some of that. Usually I'm talking about black folks, and those of you that know me know I can get really, really into it. And I haven't really had an opportunity to talk about something that was near and dear for 30 years. I mean, working for Xerox and Humble Oil Company and things like that. So I want to share that. But what I really want to share with you is, how did we say, Shirley said, how did I become Bernard Kinsey? Because we all become something over the years, right? So what I want to share with you is how I became who I am today, and what are the things that really informed me about who I was and what I was trying to do and so forth. And I think if I can do that, then I will feel good, because I am terribly interested in the young people getting this knowledge. And my son, Khalil Kinsey, stand up, Khalil, let everybody see you. Our son, Khalil, is really the linkage and the bridge to the Kinsey collection continuing. And one of the things that really fills my heart, we have this saying, the 3 things you need for a successful life. Well, first of all, everybody needs to have pen and paper, okay? I'm a pen and paper guy. Don Lavoie will tell you, pen and paper. Because if you find something that really strikes you and you don't have pen and paper, it's gone. It's called a missed opportunity, okay? So we start with pen and paper. But there are 3 things for a successful life: something to do, someone to love, and something to look forward to. We were in Kathmandu, Nepal in 1982 when a Buddhist monk made that comment. And because I'm a pen and paper guy, I captured it. And I've been using it ever since, because you know what? It says everything I want to say about how I want to run my life and the things that I'm going to put in play to make sure that I am always in front of the things that are important and building a value system around it so that it operates without me having to think about it. Now, let me tell you about being a 24-hour person. We haven't talked about this. So I got some stuff. I forgot half of this stuff. I believe that you got to be a 24-hour person. The reason you got to be a 24-hour person is because if you're anything else, you have to keep remembering what you're going to do, what you said and how you acted and all that stuff. And Don Lavoie and Arnold Hackett and Don Sutherland, people that know me from Xerox, know that I was always a 24-hour guy. I woke up every day the same person. If I told you I was going to do something, you can go to the bank on it. If I told you I wasn't going to do it, you can go to the bank on it. And I didn't give a doggone who didn't like it. Because, what we decided in 1967, ain't none of this in my notes, just so you know. None of this in my notes. In 1960s, I don't know how to even do this, frankly. But I got all these, I put countless hours in this thing. Countless hours. In 1967, Shirley and I will be 46 years in February married. So I want to say the best part of my day is my wife, Shirley Kinsey. So stand up and let everybody see you, okay? All right. Okay. All right. So we come to, I don't know how I'm going to do this because I don't know. We'll just go at it. Okay. So in 1967, we come to L.A. with $26 and a job. I always say that because that's how most of us come, with no money and a job. We had no car. My assignment, I was living on Crenshaw, 54, 57 Crenshaw. I was working in Orange County and didn't know where Orange County was. I get to work the first day at 11 o'clock because I caught a bus through Disneyland. And I'm the only black guy there because I'm their black experiment. You follow me? Because this is doing affirmative action and all this stuff. You understand? So I get there at 11 o'clock. They're getting ready to go to lunch. And I'm just coming there. And I'm feeling like, you got to be kidding. So I said, I got to get a car and get a car quick. So I called my dad. I said, Dad, I need a car. I got a job. My dad said, I don't buy cars. So that was out of that, okay? I wanted a GTO, but you know what? I had to say, I don't think I'm going to get a GTO. So I got Humble Oil Company to loan me $250. I went out on Crenshaw and bought a 1961 Dodge Lancer. Push button, No seat belts, no heat, no air conditioning, no. But it ran. Paid $250 for it and kept it for 5 years and sold it for $275. That was the first deal I made. You understand? So I said, I like this. I can do this. I can do this. And you know what? Everything we do is fundamentally based on being frugal. Okay? Frugality. If you want to ask somebody with some money, to ask them how much they keep, not how much they make. Because the rest of it don't count. So what we did, we got an $87.50 month apartment. We bought used furniture. Shirley made drapes. You know, back in the days, Shirley sold all her clothes. You know, I'm serious. That's what you did. You had no money, what you do? You sold. You know what I mean? So we got good at this stuff. But what we did was we said we were going to save one paycheck. And for the next 15 years, we saved all of Shirley's paychecks and then all of my raises and promotions. And I got promoted a lot. I moved 8 times in 14 years. I blitzed Xerox. Matter of fact, David Kearns, who was the CEO, he said, Bernard, I don't know how you got this high in this company. Because usually guys like you don't get through this. Because I was very atypical about how I was going to be in Xerox. I was going to do everything they needed, and I was going to do it better than anybody else, but I was not going to be told too many ways to live. Okay? 6:30 every afternoon, I'm home watching Brokaw. So they said, well, how are you going to do that? I said, you know what? You have to get your balance in your life. And my balance was my family, because I saw that with my dad. My dad and mom married 63 years. Never saw anything but love in my household. Let me tell you about my dad. 1941, he sued the Palm Beach County School Board for equal pay for black teachers. He also sued the Palm Beach County School Board for equal pay. So black kids could go to school for 9 months a year versus 6 months. Now let me tell you what that means. That means our black kids were only going to school 6 months because they had to work in the farm, picking beans, cotton, whatever the crop was. That's what black kids did in the South. And Dad said, this is wrong. How are you going to compete? And black kids don't get the chance. They won both lawsuits. And Thurgood Marshall was the attorney. And those cases became the building blocks for Brown versus Board. That's the kind of family I come from. My mom was a consummate homemaker. My mom would count out 7 pork chops, so much rice, so many pork and beans, whatever it was just enough. It wasn't more than enough, it was just enough. And if you were short on getting there, you didn't get enough. Because my brother and sisters, it was, we had a big family. They were all over it. So we came out of that family, all this love in a black community. Let me just tell you about West Palm Beach when I grew up. A black community with a strong black middle class, with a strong black business group. You follow me? My granddaddy Kinsey, he had the biggest grocery store in Palm Beach County. Okay? My Uncle Bill worked there and then took it on when my granddaddy died. On Rosemary, which was all black, matter of fact, I grew up from the time I was born until I went to Florida A&M and then went to Grand Canyon in 1965 and never saw white people. Just so you know. And I didn't think it was in any way of a hindrance. Because you know what? I had everything we needed there. I've always been a proponent of desegregation and not integration. Why? Because we gave up too much. We gave up all our black businesses, and we gave up our black businesses, we gave up our jobs. When you give up our jobs, that's why our kids are making up most of the prison in this country. So I'm real clear about the genesis of how this thing goes. But having done that, you got parents that went to Florida A&M in 1939. So we're second generation, third generation family going to college. And everything about the Kinsey collection is about what? Education, enlightenment, in terms of, you could see even in the 17th, 18th century, how education played pivotal roles in people's lives in terms of changing them. So it's the fundamental nature of everything we've done. Let me tell you one of the things I learned at Pepperdine. I had a wonderful experience here at Pepperdine because I was just a young kid, didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew enough to know that I needed an MBA, even though MBAs back in the day were really like, most people didn't know what the heck they were, okay? But I'm always reading. I read 2 hours a night right now, business and history. Business to keep up with my money. And just so you know, I already doubled down on Apple a couple days ago about 6:30, okay? Because I believe Apple's going to go crazy when their earnings come out, okay? So the question really is always reading. I tell young people, you ought to have a book in front of you all the time. You ought to read the USA Today or the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times every day, because that's the only way you're going to develop a cadence about what goes on in this country. And those will tell you and inform you how you can run your life, okay? But one of the things that I learned was a concept, who do I know who knows who I need to know? You need to write this down, okay? Because most people in this country have 5 to 6 people they have to call to get anything done. Now, the president he's a one-call guy, okay? He calls one guy and everybody calls him back. You want to be in that situation, but there's only one president. So then you're a 2 or 3 call guy. I'm about a 2.5 to 3 call guy, okay? The average person is 5 or 6. And most people in the 5 and 6 never get anybody to call them back. They get one call and then it never goes anywhere. So one of the things we do from a problem-solving stand is, before I attack anything, we've raised $22 million. We raise probably $600,000, $700,000 a year just as a matter of course, is who do I know who knows who I need to know, okay, to get this problem solved? And when you look at it that way, your world opens up. Because you know more people than you know, and they have the connective tissue all the way around. Melanie, I got a cousin here I just saw and met tonight. Melanie, stand up and let everybody see you. All right? On the Fretwell side of the family. Give her a big round of applause. And tell Patricia we connected, okay? My cousin, we grew up like sisters and brothers in Palm Beach. She called me today and she said, Bernard, you got to meet your cousin Melanie. So I said, and she's here at Pepperdine, okay? So it's good. Okay, so, all right. 1967, I started with Humble Oil Company. I'm the first black sales rep, okay? I'm their experiment, you know, and a lot of that happened back in the day. And I ain't mad at them because I needed a job. They gave me a territory in South Central Los Angeles, okay? 8 months after the Watts riots. And what I want to try to do is show you how everything we've tried to do has been a building block. In other words, we haven't done anything. We've gone down that street and come back and go, you know, we don't do it. Everything's a building block. So we start with 19 service stations. Within 18 months, I got 16 black service station dealers. Now, let me tell you what these 16 black service station dealers represent. Almost 175 jobs. Because I've been all about jobs, because that's what this thing's about, okay? Because all of these dealers, they have to have workers, okay? So in 1969, I find out that I'm the #1 sales rep in the country for Humble Oil Company and didn't know it. Because I wasn't about running trying to be #1. I was about having the best service stations in Los Angeles. And let me tell you what I asked them to do. I asked them, if I come to your station and cannot use your bathroom, you got a problem. And people that know me, you don't want to have a problem with me. Because I will take you out. I just will. We don't play with that. So if I could go to the bathroom, that meant that everything was clean. Think about it. And then I asked them to put on their bow ties and wear full uniforms in South Central Los Angeles in 1967. And we owned that market the whole time I was there. So I didn't realize we were doing anything other than that's where you're supposed to do things. So they say, Bernard, you've done a good job. We're going to bring every district manager from around the country, and we're going to rent a bus, and we're going to put a mic on you, and you're going to take them around and show them how you did what you did. And you know what that was for me? It told me I can do this. Because I didn't know that before then. Because I'm a little young, Southern boy that hadn't seen mountains and, let me tell you about Grand Canyon. The year before, I ain't showing no pictures, that's right. God, hold up. Well, first of all, we have a picture of Dean Livingston and Faye McClure when I was at commencement. Thank you, Khalil. I told you I didn't write this down. Okay, this is my mom and dad. I'm telling you, they're just, even on my dad's deathbed, I could see the love with mom and my mom and dad had with each other. Okay, my mom died in June of this year, okay? This is us, my brothers and sisters. That's me, as you could probably see right there with the little cowboy hat. This is me as a Cub Scout. I did the Cub Scouts, the Boy Scout, did the whole thing. See, Dean, I got serious about this. I told you I wasn't just walking in here off the street. Okay. This is the first job of responsibility that I had. I was 16 years old. I had 3 teachers that made a big impact. Mr. McDonald, 8th grade geography, that took us around the world. And he caused me to want to see all of the places that I had seen that in the book. And Shirley and I have been to 91 countries, because we just came back from Bali. 91 countries in 6 continents, okay? And I ain't through. We're going to Shanghai next week. We hang out in Shanghai all the time. That's one of that and Italy. I told people I'm coming back as a black Italian because I love Italy so much. But imagine at 16, I'm running the waterfront for the Boy Scout camp. I had 8 lifeguards. I had over 125 kids to come. We never lost a kid over the 6 years I had it. They had the Girl Scouts use the same waterfront. They didn't want male lifeguards. They lost 2 girls. You follow me? Because they didn't want males because of, And I told them, I said, let me bring my guys in. We'll take care of it. But this is a great group of guys. Ben Carson over on the right, he's a doctor. All of them have done well. This is me in senior in high school. Now, this is the park ranger. Can you believe I was a park ranger one time? 1965, I'm at Florida A&M, and I got to tell you, Florida A&M just was the best thing that ever happened. Because I met Shirley, and I got a chance to play in the Florida A&M marching band, which is still the best. Go ahead and clap, because that's a good one, okay? Right now, I can do it. After 50 years, my mom took us to Miami to see the Florida A&M band when I was in the 7th grade. And I told my mama, I said, I want to go there. And I could not wait to get to Florida A&M University to play in the 100. And right now, I'm on the search committee for the new band director. We had some issues. And we're going to clean all that out, but we're going to have that band back on the field in September, okay? But it's okay. So here we are. I didn't have the best grades in college. I didn't have good grades at all. I would have been an Omega in college if I had the grade point. Now, we got Ricky Lewis there, who runs the West Coast. We got Derek Delaney, who's a mentee and an Omega. And just so you know, I'm an Omega also. I was just inducted last month in the Omega Psi Phi. So I'm real proud of that. And let me tell you why I'm proud of that. Because the motto is, friendship is essential to the soul. I told him, hell, if y'all told me that in college, I'd have had better grades. We'd have got this thing done a long time ago. So I go into the career office, and I befriend Mr. Cunningham, who was a big supporter. And he knew my grade points were a little short. But he knew that I could interview well. I learned how to do that a long time ago. So I went in, and the Department of Interior was integrating the Park Service. You follow me? So they said they wanted somebody to go to Grand Canyon. I didn't even know what the hell Grand Canyon was because I had never been on a plane. I had never seen a mountain. I mean, literally, this is like, you got to be kidding. But I will go. I said, but the only way I will go if you bring Nick Walker with me, my best friend. So I negotiated right then for my boy to go. And let me just say, we're going to get to it in a little bit, but everything you do in life, you're negotiating. So you have to start thinking about negotiating as a positive rather than a negative. And Shirley can tell you, there's not much I can't do when I want to get something from, I am good at it because I know the principles and then I'm relentless about what we want. And what you have to do is to say, this whole notion, how do I get the things I want out of life? And I don't mean taking from somebody else, but I mean getting what you need and keeping them whole. We go to Grand Canyon, and so you go to Grand Canyon, and guess where we end up? We end up coming to Los Angeles, and then the next year I get this interview from Humble Oil Company needing somebody in where? Los Angeles. So now Los Angeles is not foreign, so I can come to Los Angeles. And for a couple from Florida to come to Los Angeles in 1967 was like, you gotta be kidding. People thought when I said LA, they thought it was lovely Atlanta. But they definitely didn't think it was Los Angeles. But it was the best thing we did. And I'll tell you why. Because we got here and we were not around Shirley's family or my family. So we had to rely on each other. And relying on each other is critical. We didn't have people, when you have a little spat and you go tell somebody you had a spat, and the next thing you know, you forgot about it and they have it 20 years later. That's what happens. So we were able to grow and learn and develop here in a very good way. And it was just wonderful. And the Park Service really taught me a lot about nature. And I decided, I said, baby, we're going to do this. So what we did was, over the next about 7, 8 years, we went to 43 national parks. So before we started getting on planes going to Europe and South America, we went to national parks. And I say it today is one of the best experiences for a family is to go to a national park because it's so inexpensive. And it just opens you up in ways that you cannot believe. You got Sequoia here, you got Kings Canyon, Yosemite, you got Redwoods, you got Crater Lake, Mount Tacoma. All of this stuff is here. And what we have to decide is it valuable? And Ricky, you all get him in them national parks and let this young man see that the world is bigger than Los Angeles, okay? All right. All right. This is Shirley and I, an early picture. She made that dress, just so you know. And this is Guy Dobbs. Guy died, 20 plus years ago. He was one of my mentors. And I'll tell you about another mentor of mine is Gene Ruffin. Gene is, I'll give you an example. I take over the Oakland branch, which is 82 out of 82 the year before. So, and it was one of these deals. They said, well, if you want to get this branch early, we'll give you the branch. It was doing about $27 million, which is a lot of money even back in 1976, okay? I go there, and I want to do so good, but I don't know how to do it because I'm just really just tearing up myself in this branch. So Ruff, we call him Ruff, Gene Ruffin, one of the sharpest guys I know to this day. Gene comes up and sits me down and said, Bernard, what do you want to do? I want to win. No, what do you want to do? And within one day, he laid out my whole plan. So I just executed it. Within 4 months, we went from 82nd to number 1. Okay? And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to try to get to, okay. All right. Most people are limited by what? Vision, creativity, and self-imposed constraints. Maybe I ought to just use this stuff. It's pretty good stuff, isn't it? Okay. I don't know what I didn't do. Okay. Key areas of a successful life. And we all have this. If you want to live a long time, you better take care of yourself. You better start now because if you're lucky, Mickey Mantle says, if I'd have known I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself. That's what we all have to think about. But these are the things to help spouse, family, friends, financial well-being, spirituality, and community. Those are the things that inform me every day. And I manage those as it relates to my life plan. Okay, here's some basic life principles. I won't go through all of them. But don't spend energy on things that are out of your control and control everything that is, okay? There are only two choices in life, whether you want to or whether you don't. You remember that, Don? We used to say that all the time. Because I used to tell sales rep, I had about 1,000 sales rep one time, one of the jobs. So I used to tell them, I said, look, we're going to take this hill. You know, we're going to beat Kodak in this business. We're going to beat IBM in selling Selectras. Xerox had never sold Selectras before. In other words, we didn't know how to type. So guess what? We taught them how to type. And one year we owned the country in selling typewriters. Because everybody knew that if you didn't learn how to sell a typewriter, you got a problem. And we had a little thing. We'd tell the manager, say, look, here's what we're doing. You delegate that down. Now, if you can't get it done, then I'm gonna get somebody else to do it, and then they're gonna have to do it. In other words, it's not gonna just slide away. We're gonna keep on this thing. So people realize that, first of all, if they did it, they made a lot of money. Because Xerox sales reps made a lot of money back in the 70s and 80s and 90s because it was a very aggressive company and a compensation plan, okay? Learn the art of negotiating. You're negotiating every time you open your mouth. People don't care how much you know until they care how much they know how much you care. And I believe that because one of the things I wanted to do with each of you, and I got a chance to meet literally most of you at the reception, is because I want to break down these barriers between the speaker and the listeners. Because in most places, the speaker is all off in the corner somewhere and it's just like that. I mean, it just don't make no sense, you know? I mean, when in fact what we want to do is to make everybody feel like this is a big family. We got Charlie Allen. Charlie, raise your hand there and let everybody see you. Charlie Allen is, you're going to get a chance to we're going to do a little book signing after with the Kinsey collection, but Charlie has been the guy behind the Kinsey collection book. We've done, we had 5 editions. Next to him is Bill Bruns. Bill, raise your hand there. Bill is the editor and publisher of the Palisadian Post. They did a really nice article last week, and he's been a friend for 20 plus years, and we appreciate all his support. You got George Gibbs there with UPS, also not only a friend, but a supporter of the Kinsey collection. So, and I'll get to more as we go. Khalil's giving me the, okay? All right, okay. All right. Ron Brown has a saying, leave the door open and the ladder down, okay? And what does that mean? That means we got to learn how to help people. So in Xerox, the Xerox Black employees, when I started with Xerox in 1971, we had less than 1,000 black folks. When I left in 1991, we had over 14,000. And I hired, I don't know, a couple thousand of them myself. And I'm one of these guys, I'm an A, B, and C kind of guy. Because I think the world cannot only have A players. You follow me? You know what? America only wants to educate A players. Well, you know what? There are some universities, maybe that's okay. But what are we going to do about the B and C players? And what we would do, we would go and get B and C players and turn them into A players because they had the right kind of stuff. And we did this consistently, and we won in every category. Because a lot of this stuff is just book knowledge that doesn't translate anyway. All right. Strive to be the same person through any circumstance. And when you become successful, you won't have to figure out who you are. That's what that 24-hour person. And here's a little interesting one, roles, goals, and responsibilities. This is a Xerox term. And another one is learn, use, teach, okay? Learn something, use it, teach it to somebody else, inspect it, okay? But the roles, goals, and responsibilities is important because a lot of things that we get involved in, we don't need to get involved in because we don't ask the right questions about our involvement. So before we get involved in things, we ask the question, what is our role in this situation? What goal would we have if we did it? And what's the responsibility once you take it? And if you can't answer that, you probably should say, I don't want to do this, okay? All right. Am I doing okay? Okay, all right, okay. All right. All right. Here's another piece. Managed by facts. That's a Xerox term. In other words, we don't manage by, all the foolishness you see in the political campaigns. FACT matters. You follow me? It matters. 1 + 1 = 2. It don't mean 2.5 or 3. You understand? And we need to be able to talk about things factually, because that's how you can get to the nub of issues to be able to solve problems. Teamwork is more important than talent. I said this a little earlier. Everybody needs to think about this. I don't care how smart you are. It does not matter if you don't work well with other people, because people don't want to be around you. Just that simple. Finish what you start. Sounds simple. A lot of people don't. In a partnership, decisions should be made on 2 yeses and 1 no. Let me tell you what Shirley and I have done over the years. It's a good system. When we first got married, it was $50. Anything $50 or over, we needed you need 2 people saying it, because we held on to the dollars. We moved it up. Now it's a lot more, but we still have to check off. You understand? But it requires 2 yeses and 1 no. And you know what it does? It forces you to have the right discussion, because it's not my money; it's our money. You follow me? And if it's our money, we ought to be making decisions together about it, as opposed to, sometimes I talk her into it. Like art, I'm really weak on art, I just had a little deal I did, just a fabulous deal. I love art. I love black art. You know why? Because we had black folks painting in the 19th century, making a living doing it. Robert Duncanson in the 1840s. Nobody knows about him. And I'm saying there's something wrong about that. Grafton Tyler Brown and Tanner and Edward Bannister. These people were important. And we need to give them their personality, their names, and their voice. And that's what we try to do. If you're the smartest person in your group's too small. It really is. It really is. And I'm telling you what, if you don't think like that, you're going to really get yourself hurt. Because what they're going to do is what I call dumb down on you. You know what dumbing down on you? In other words, Benjamin Mays, president of Morehouse, aim high and miss rather than aiming low and hitting. That's where you want to be in your life. Aiming high. You follow me? And almost getting there. Rather than aiming low and hitting it and think you did something. Okay? All right. Do not trust your every thought. I said this at commencement. Because you don't know where they came from. You don't. You don't know where you got. Because then you know what? Some of this stuff that we get in our head is like picking up a sandwich that somebody threw away and putting it on our plate and eating it and calling it dinner. So what I ask you to do is to think about where this stuff comes from and use what we call management by fact on it, as opposed to just consuming it on face value. And there's so much of that it's just ridiculous. And a lot of Americans live like that. Live on this notion that whatever they hear or read, they consume it. And what we want to do is say, no, that doesn't compute. That doesn't make sense. Okay? And this is one of the most important ones. Take setbacks as temporary. And I cannot tell you, I can sit here and say, I'm doing, but let me tell you, I get a lot of setbacks because there are a lot of things that I still haven't done that I haven't been able to figure out. Who do I know who needs, you know that? I'm still working on it. But the fact of the matter is that I am resilient about what I want to do with my life. And I'm not going to let anybody or anything get at it. And Khalil and Shirley can tell you, I wake up every day with this sense of expectancy. Let's just say expectancy. Now, in the 18th and 19th century, our brothers and sisters who were enslaved, they had another word with it called resistance and expectancy. And that's what got our brothers and sisters through slavery. resistance, and expectancy. So now expectancy is a pretty good deal. And if you don't have high expectations for your life, you just can't get it done. And I cannot impress upon you how important your expectations are about who and what you want to do with your life. Okay? Goal setting. Only 3% of the public write their goals down. 10% have goals committed to memory, but only 1/10 of it is effective. So if you don't have your goals written down, guess what? You're kidding yourself. You're just not going to get there. You got about a 10% chance of doing it, okay? Only 50% of people have short-term goals, and 37% of the people have no goals at all, and they wonder why they can't get to where they want to go. You know, everybody wants to see Jesus, and nobody wants to die. The fact of the matter is you got to be willing to die to see him, okay? All right, all right, all right. All right, write your goals down. You'll generate a picture in your subconscious. 1967, we're driving Lizzie, a $250 car. We're at the Palisades Park, and we look and we see this apartment building on Pacific Coast Highway, this big white building that's right there on Pacific Coast Highway. And we said, we'd like to live there one day. 1984, we buy a half-acre property, 5,500 square feet off of Chautauqua, looking at that property. That's called visualization. That's called actualization. In 1971, it took me 12 interviews to get a job with Xerox as an FSM. I'm working on an MBA. I get into the company and I find out, guess what? Ain't nobody even got a BS degree. So guess what? Now you're talking about, see, and this is what white folks got to understand about black folks. They're saying black folks got this because of affirmative action, because that's what they would say, you know. But the fact of the matter is, I got a BS degree and almost an MBA, and I get hired for a job that nobody else has one. So how do I feel about it? I didn't feel good about that at all. But you know what I did? I killed it. 9 months, I got promoted. Okay? Another 12 months, I'm promoted again. So I figured it cost me 18 months. You follow me? Because they didn't slot me right. But I wasn't mad at them. You follow me? I wasn't mad at him. Don Lavoie told me something in 1975. Don said, Bernard, you can't be smarter than your boss. Never forgot that. Can't be smarter than your boss. Because sometimes I was smarter than my boss, and every time I'd go 2 up and I'd get 4 back. They put me in a box, right, Don? Because they used to say, Bernard, we ain't going to tolerate that. I mean, you're good, but you ain't that good. You follow me? Because I'm always pushing up on it. And another thing I used to tell Faye, never outrun your support in your company. Okay? Because if you do, you're going to get out there on an island and you're not going to get back. You're not going to get off that island, which means you're going to just be there. Okay? All right. All right, I guess we need to go quickly. Okay. 4 ways to manage: competence, character, personality, authority. I always used to manage on a competence basis. You follow me? If I had to go to authority, you got a problem. You follow me? If I had to get down and that kind of thing, I mean, it's just not going to work. 4 levels of competence. Okay. Some people are unconsciously incompetent. That means they don't know that they don't know. Okay? We see this all the time. Some people are consciously incompetent. They know that they don't know, but they're starting. And that's the first beginning of moving this cycle along. Then there are people that are unconsciously competent. We had a lot of sales reps that were good, but didn't know why they were good. In other words, they could go and sell, but they couldn't replicate it. Because our idea was you had to make 10 calls. All of them have to be the same, and you're going to get 1 yes. The problem is you don't know where where the yes is going to come from. So you got to do it all the right way. Right, Arnold? Am I saying it? Okay? And you know what? When you get 1,000 people, all trained, you follow me? We had to kill a killer region. I mean, in 1982, we were doing the largest region in the country at $250 million. I don't know what that is now. That's a piece of money. And they gave this little black boy from West Palm Beach, Florida, the responsibility. I said, you know what? I got this. I said, and we're going to put black people in these jobs. So guess what? Am I coming up on it? Okay. Black Caucus at Xerox, okay? The remarkable thing about 1971 for me was I met these unbelievable black folks from all over the country who had the same aspirations and talents that I had. I got you, okay. And what I wanted to do was, I said, we can do this. And we formed the Xerox Black Employees. And that is in existence today. And it's the premier black organization in the country. The only company in America that has a black female CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Let me tell you how she got there. She may not even know how she got there. 1980, we got Xerox to say, they keep talking about, well, they don't have any engineers. I said, come on, we're going to have engineers. So we created an engineering program. So any of these companies, schools, they're telling me that they can't recruit. They're telling me they don't want to, okay? Because this is 2012, first of all. This ain't 1970s, okay? So we created this engineering program for summer, for African Americans, Latinos, and so forth. And Ursula Burns came in that program. Essentially 30 years later, she's president, okay? And that's how it works. David Kearns would tell you that the way to get people to the right jobs is to slot them in the right jobs, right? That's how it's done. There's nothing magic about this. You follow me? You know, Joe Sweet played pro ball. I mean, the way to be a great receiver is to have a chance to play. You follow me? You can't play from the sideline. What kind of foolishness is that? Wonderful organization. We just lost Kearney today to colon cancer. We've lost John Lewis. We lost David Kearns, the CEO of Xerox, in February. So our group is starting to get in this area that people are leaving us, okay? So, I mean, it's a special group for me because the Barry Rands and the Ken Amoses, you follow me? The Bill Sykes and the Bill Kears and Art Crawfords. We ran this country. At one point, we had every major job in Xerox was run by a black person, and we were number one in every job that we had. And we did that for over 10 years. When I left the region in 1984, Gil Scott took over the region, a brother, because I made sure, that a brother was going to take, because that's called succession planning, right? Is that what that's called? Okay, all right. And then when he left, Bill Goins took over from him. Now, what that does, it gives you stability and consistency, expectancy, right? All right, okay, all right. Now, I just want to give you this. Let me tell you, this is going back. But this is 1980. This is before I go to Rochester, because they said, you got to go to Rochester to be a vice president. I said, well, I'll go to Rochester. All right. Out of 33 managers, 11 of them were black. Hear what I just said? 3 Latinos, 2 Asians, 17 whites, 33. Now, let me tell you, this is Oakland, California. My affirmative action plan is simply this. You should look like the area you serve. Simple. In San Francisco, you should have more Asians. Follow me? You follow me? In Hawaii, we had to have affirmative action numbers for whites because it was so many Filipinos, Japanese, Hawaiians. Makes sense. Because if you don't have a balanced workforce, which is what we call that, then how are you going to represent this, this company and deal with this marketplace that's very diverse and getting chopped up every day, even more so, being diverse. But I was really proud of this because, remember I told you we went from number 82 to number 1 with black folks in the help. And we did it. I changed the music and got some black music in there. I did. I was serious. And when you came to the Oakland branch, you had a certain expectation. You follow me? But we were totally professional. We didn't allow no foolishness. And we won. We got at it. because that was the name of the game. That's Castro there. Let me tell you the story about Castro. Okay. We're in Cuba, I don't know, about 7, 8, 10 years ago. So we have lunch with him for about 4 hours. It's a true story. I don't make this stuff up. Okay. So he gives all the men cigars, gives the women flowers. So I'm in Miami going through customs. And the custom agent says, anybody got cigars, give them to me. So I said, I got cigars, I said, Castro gave them to me. He said, oh, go ahead. So I was able to get through customs. I told the truth, but he didn't believe me. So let me say this. 2 weeks later, let me just show you. This is a true story. 2 weeks later, we're doing a fundraiser at our home. How many of you heard of August Wilson, the 2-time Pulitzer winner? So he's coming to the house that night. So I take him downstairs with all the black folks, with all our historical stuff. And I give him a handful of cigars from Castro. And you know what I say? God grant me a gift to give it to somebody else that needs it more than me. And that was just a beautiful thing to be able to share that. This is Rosa Parks. We had a dinner for her. We raised about $125,000. She sat there and she said, Mr. Kinsey, I cannot tell you how many of these dinners I've been to, and nobody helps my foundation. And she was so appreciative. When she passed, I had the opportunity to speak at her funeral in Washington. It was a great honor. Okay, so I'm wrapping up, okay? I'm wrapping up. And I really want you to start thinking this. Do more than belong, participate, okay? Do more than care, help somebody. Do more than believe, start practicing. Do more than dream, work. And in closing, when you work hard and do all the things you can do, you have to turn it over to the Lord. If the request is not right, God will say no. If the time is not right, God will say slow. If you are not right, God will say grow. But when everything is right, God will say go. And I want to thank all of you, Dean, all of you all for coming out tonight. This has just been really, really, Ron Perriman, thank you so much. All of you, Charles, appreciate you coming out tonight. Thank you. Okay.